It's time for Mac Break Weekly. We're getting ready for WWDC. All the rumors, all the details, our bingo card. We're ready to scratch off. It's coming up next. Mac Break Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Mac Break Weekly, recorded May 27th, 2014, episode 404, Show Not Found. Mac Break Weekly is brought to you by Offset.com, a new brand from Shutterstock. Offset provides a collection of high-end, royalty-free photography and illustration from award-winning talent. To receive a buy one, get one free image on new accounts, visit offset.com/welcome/MacBreak. And by Hover.com. Hover's the best way to buy and manage domain names. It's simple, honest, and easy to use. For 10% off your first purchase, go to Hover.com and enter the promo code MBW5. And by Squarespace.com, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free 2-week trial and 10% off, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code MacBreak. It's time for Mac Break Weekly, the show that covers Macintosh, Apple, all that stuff. I almost said Zune. In one show, all compacted into one show. There he is, Andy Yanako from the Chicago Sun-Times. Good to see you, Andy. Something's missing.
Grazie, LA.
Grazie, LA. Pour le balal, ding-a-ding-a-ding-a. Andy's here. So is Alex Lindsay in studio today. We'll get the question engine up and running.
It's running.
Whenever Alex is here, we'll get you the URL in a sec.
Yep.
And from imore.com, Renee Ritchie.
Hello, Andy.
Hey, Alex. Renee. Good to see you. Question engine is a chance for you to ask questions of this fine panel. Alex developed it at the Pixel Core, and he kindly lets us use it when he's here. But we have to use a special URL because it's a very long.
We're working on that.
We could fix that.
We got a new version coming out in a couple weeks, and we'll fix all of that. So but yeah, if you go to it's just bit.ly/404MBW. You can ask questions, vote on questions.
That might be confusing because 404 is normally the error message for a web page not found, but it is also the episode.
For today. It'll only be 404 today.
404 MBW. Yeah. Don't go to any other variation of that. Apparently, people are now knowing ahead of time that you might do this.
They're ruining everything for everyone.
We're going to run our own. We have our own shortener. We just we couldn't figure out how to use it.
Very complicated.
We could just switch to a different numbering system. Like we go to a base 8 or even a base 11.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Sort of get ahead of the people.
Well, we could get. Yeah, I think that's great. Let's go to base 7.
Just random numbers. Just random.
Yes.
This is episode 47321.
Yes.
Hashes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, hash
everyone
the
can keep track of that.
And salt it so you'll never know what to expect.
But it's secure.
But it is secure. No one will ever guess our number. Hey,
or maybe people could just agree not to be jerks. I know that would be harder than having hashed numbers.
Stop it.
Walk a mile in my shoes, Andrew.
Dealing with humans here, Andy.
Yeah. WWDC is coming up Monday.
It is.
Keynote, we now know, 10 a.m. Mark Gurman, 9 to 5 Mac. He's only 20, but he has really good contacts. I'm sorry, Mark, but I still am kind of like amazed that you are such a young person and yet so successful. He says new hardware will be announced. But the interesting thing I'm seeing, the rumor, and I think this is, this is one of those rumors that is either wildly true or wildly untrue.
And that's actually our number one question here.
Apple, this is from TechCrunch, which has gotten a few things wrong lately. They've not got a perfect track record. Apple said to be prepping smart home software platform for WWDC. And then they show 3 devices Apple doesn't own: the Nest, the Hue, and the Belkin. But that's
castle with such thick stone walls that Bluetooth low E is not going to work at all.
What a home! Is that Hampton Court? That looks like Hampton Court. What is that?
I think that all I can say is I think that would be a lot harder to automate. That home specifically?
Actually, because there's no metal in the walls, it might be perfect.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
No rebar.
There's a
No
Sheraton
power.
right off of I-95 in Braintree that looks a lot like that. I don't know if that's where they got
Could
the
be
photo
actually
from.
Braintree.
I think the Financial Times, Tim Bradshaw was reporting that too.
And the FT is the one that broke the, and we can't read it because the FT's behind a paywall, and I refuse to give the Financial Times my money.
It's not money. They just want your registration.
Are you in Safari? Hold on.
Look at what you get when you go to the Financial Times.
Are you in Safari? Cut and paste that to Safari.
Cut and paste in Safari. Safari goes around this.
If you have it do the reader.
Oh, you can actually read it?
Reader just goes, I will ignore all of this now.
I hate those stupid paywalls. Enter your email address, select an access level, or don't read the article.
Copy and paste.
Financial Times is the same group, same organization, same fine journalistic entity that claimed that Apple was buying Beats. So I don't know what to say.
They're doubling down, Leo.
It doesn't happen sometimes, Renee, and both Renee and Andy have sources at Apple, that you get a phony source that starts giving you crap, and it takes a few bad leaks to realize this guy's not working at Apple
I don't think
anymore.
any of us would report on a single source, though.
Really?
I'd like to think not. Yeah, I wouldn't report on a
The
single
Beats
source.
felt like that everybody and their brother was saying that this was going to happen.
I think it was a lot of people dogpiling on early reporting that seemed to come from people that were sticking their necks way, 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 way out. That kind of encouraged a lot of people to suddenly start thinking, okay, well, does it make sense to me that Beats would be bought by Apple? I bet I can figure out why it makes sense, and that's how you get your column out.
Yeah, people
But yes,
like Harry McCracken said, I don't know if it's true. I don't think it's true at Time Magazine, but here's why I hope it's not true. That's kind of what I was saying. We still, by the way, week 3, Apple held hostage. No Beats deal. Still.
Week 3, Apple is still not with Beats.
See, that's why it's so much fun to look at how the coverage is evolving, because week 1 was people saying, well, of course, because headphones are a really, really profitable market space, and Apple absolutely has been yearning to get into the accessories game. And then week 2 with no announcement, well, it's obvious that it's not about the headphones, it must be about the streaming service. And then end of week 2, well, it must be a grab for the executives. And now we're in week 3. This is where you get into Stockholm syndrome, where the people are saying, well, I know that I told you that this was definitely happening within a few days, a couple of weeks ago, but now I have exclusive story about why it's not happening. Now here's how Dr. Dre got Tim Cook really, really angry. I can't tell you the source, but
That's the new one, isn't it? It's well, it's not happen, or maybe not, doesn't happen because. So, gosh, we could just go through the chronology, but let's. All right, I'll come. Okay, hold that thought. We'll pop the stack later, but we'll push another thing on the stack. We'll pop the WWDC stack.
Yes.
Later.
I love fourth jokes.
push Beats, since we got on this. So 5 days ago, TechCrunch said, "Oh, it's happening, but it's an acquire for Dr. Dre."
Which makes less sense than
Makes
Iovine.
no sense at all.
Iovine makes more sense as far as acquihire.
Not even Dr. Dre. Look, the guy is very, very wealthy. You don't. It's one thing to buy a company, for $10 million, and you get the engineers and you get the. Dr. Dre doesn't really need Beats. I'm thinking Beats is probably not more than 10% of his business time. He's producing records. He's making. He's making videos. I don't know if you get Dr. Dre really if you buy Beats.
It's a big chunk of his revenue. Of his income.
And Jimmy Iovine. Now they didn't put Jimmy in the picture of the headline, but Jimmy Iovine is the source. They want Jimmy and they want Dre. He's got fashion and culture completely locked up. On Sunday we talked about this, and Brian Brushwood said, "I'm just an old to me. You're just an old man, Leo. You don't get it. To you, Apple's still cool, but to the kids today, the white headphones are meaningless. You gotta get fashion. You gotta get hip. You gotta get Dre to appeal to the kids today."
Well, and one thing that I will say that I'm happy to see Tim Cook doing is rather than having it all be one person that is the tastemaker for all of Apple, which is where it was, when Steve Jobs was there. I do think that what we're seeing with Arendt's being hired, with possibly these being acqui-hired, is that what we're seeing is an expansion of, we're going to have a bunch of different people, a bunch of smart people in the room making decisions about what this looks like. I think there's a lot of cultural problems. I think that
it feels to me more like you're chasing style, and this is exactly what at least I and what I think Twit represent, which is we're not going for what's cool, what's hip, what's happening. We're saying here's what the best stuff is, regardless of the veneer over it. And to me, if Apple is saying, hey, only way we're going to succeed is having a veneer of hip fashion.
But is Beats where the hockey puck's going to be?
Beats is not where the hockey puck's been in a long time, in my opinion.
Well, but I do think that and I don't know if it's, I mean, you guys might have more information, but I believe that one of the problems that Apple's had is it's not just that they don't want to do a subscription service, they just haven't been able to lock up those deals.
So this might be a music, we've talked about this before, the idea that the music industry might be supporting this, right?
Questions.
Yeah, you changed this. There we go. Now I got it. All right.
And so I think that getting into that, and I think that it allows them to experiment with it. I think that is the I think that the subscription service Apple has to come out with. I mean, they have to move to a subscription service. I mean, that is the future. I haven't bought anything since I got Spotify. so I mean, go ahead.
I don't know what's going on with Beats. I don't know the reasons why Apple is. I would never say with certainty that I know why Apple's going after it. I do believe something very, very clearly, that they don't buy a $3 billion company, especially one that's such an established brand, to get a product or even a product line. It really is about, here is where we want to be 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and what pieces are we missing to get there. So that's if and when this happens, and if and when they explain their reasoning, it really will, when we look back on Apple history, it'll come out to, okay, clearly they wanted to do more than make hardware and even sell individual intellectual property. They wanted to actually be in the business of managing and profiting off of the content itself.
Well, and I think that there's an opportunity to, I still think, and I may be way off, but I still think that there's a real opportunity to go to 24-bit audio, to take those headphones and actually make a line of them that's actually high quality. I mean, not just a lot of bass, but really, really high fidelity, and look at a subscription service that is a higher priced. That'd be Apple's way of doing it, higher priced.
Hard. This is such a bogus rumor.
We'll see.
It's such a bogus rumor.
Your inability to believe people do dumb things, Leo, is going to haunt you one day.
Yeah, it's just difficult when people are saying things with absolute certainty that they know exactly why Apple's doing something. They know exactly that this is happening. I mean, I still haven't written about it yet, chiefly because every time I try to look into things that we can actually prove, and like Renee, I mean, there are people that will talk to you under the proviso that you're not going to use the information that they give you directly, that they're just if you just know that all I'm looking for is a reality check on things that I'm thinking, and not even the people that I've been talking to has anything that makes me certain about any of this. So I think that we need some distance from this at this point. We need us to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, let's wait and see. Okay, I for one will take the pledge not to bring it up ever again.
Sure.
At least not until next week.
Not until next week.
Thanks to the folks at IT Pro TV for my giant mug, my
awesome.
swimming pool coffee cup. Tim and Don, thank you. Push one more item on the stack, then we'll pop it. Where is Andy's hat? That's question number 1 from the Questions on Air team. You can show this, Chad. Where is Andy's hat? Tech for Hire posed this, but it got 14 upvotes. The upvotes are what makes a question pop to the top.
I will tell you that I usually shower 3 to 5 times a week, and almost never on Tuesday, because I've got lots of things coming on Tuesday. And today I happen to shower and shampoo and condition and whatever. And so I wear a hat on camera when I feel as though my hair is an absolute fright. When it's not a total fright, or at least beyond my standards of absolute fright, then I believe that, you don't want to be the guy who refuses to be seen without like something on their head.
Chad says, "Forget the hat. Where's the squirrel?"
He's
with the hat. They're both getting laundered.
He's in Tokyo working on a Pixel Core project.
Okay, I'm gonna say done.
He signed the NDA. I didn't, so I'm not allowed to. But
there's your answer. I'm clicking the done button. We're gonna pop the stack one more time, and move to let's see. We pop Beats. Now we're back to WWDC. Thank God. So what about these this home automation rumor? Is that credible? That seems to me credible anyway.
I think so.
I think so. It seems like it's especially the way that it's being presented, that Apple's not coming out with a line of home automation accessories. They are simply going to create a specification, an API, and a licensing thing, so that if you want your home automation, whatever it is, to support iPhone at that intimate level, here are the tools to make that happen. I think that this is it would be kind of ahead of its time at this point for Apple to do that as a real line of products, but they're certainly willing to make sure that if this takes off and becomes a thing, that the iPhone isn't left outside.
Google's been rumored. In fact, Google's made products along these lines. Google's bought Nest, so
I think
Google's very much planning to be in this space, I'm sure.
I think on home automation. I mean, I know
it's
for
been
me,
a flop.
I'm waiting.
We're waiting because it's been a flop because there's so many conflicting standards. There's no clear winner.
Exactly, and that's usually where Apple does a pretty good job at capitalizing on that, because there's a lot of iPhone users like me that would love to have my iPhone control when I walk in the door. I want to unlock the doors. I want to have a keyless experience. I want to be able to change my lights. I mean, I want to be able to do all of those things. With my iPhone, I don't want a bunch of different little bits and pieces. And I think that it's a huge opportunity for Apple.
I've been rooting for this smart things, but if Apple got into it, that would kind of change the game for them. Unless Apple acquires smart things. See, this was a smarter acquisition. Say this is a startup that's focused on. And they already have products, but the idea is focused on, and here's another thing, they interoperate with existing standards like Zigbee, and so this works with your Wemo, this works with your Hue, this works with your Sonos. I think the idea that one thing that works with everything is a great idea, and but I agree that an Apple could do this better than anybody. My only fear is that you have to have an iPhone to use it. Or an iPad.
That's exactly it. I mean,
that'd be your fear. I think a lot of people wouldn't.
People love Nest, but if you can't make the Nest do something cool unless you have an iPhone, that's a deal breaker. That would be there's almost no point in doing it if it's an exclusive sort of thing.
Well,
again,
for you,
something that if
I mean, there's a lot of iPhone users that just wouldn't care. I mean, they wouldn't care whether it was cross-platform or not.
Smart things is cross-platform. Now, Apple has pieces.
That's fine if Apple wants to make its own line of thermostats, and that's fine if they want to make their own line of light bulbs. Yeah. But I think Apple is cognizant of the fact that it's not a Apple dominant world out there anymore. And if you want to create something that real consumers are going to be able to get their hands on, you can't trust that they only have iPhones and they only have iPads.
iBeacon is cross-platform.
Yeah, I have my beacons in the office right now, as a matter of fact, I'm playing with.
So that it could be based on iBeacon, for instance.
iBeacon is an Apple thing that other companies have figured out how to use. So it's not that Apple necessarily set it up. But the thing I like about this rumor so much is that the way it's set out is smart. Originally, it was being reported sort of like HomePlay, like a version of CarPlay that would work on the houses. And AirPlay CarPlay is an interface projection. It's letting iOS take over your screen. But for home automation products, there's most times there's not a screen. That's not a very compelling idea. But what there is it sounds like it's going to be based on the made for iPhone, iPad, iPod program, MFI, which is a long-standing program. It's how original iPods interfaced with cars and with home stereo equipment. And it's basically, you have to sign an NDA, but then you're part of the program, and it allows for best experience with an iOS device. And I think that answers a lot of these questions. I remember talking to Sonos years ago, and they said they weren't working on their own controllers anymore because making a controller for the iPhone was such a better experience. Right. And if Apple could ensure that, like, I never thought it would be a good idea for Apple to buy Nest. Nest would be a horrible idea for Apple. They don't have to be in the thermostat business, but they can be in the business of making sure that every smart connected device in your house has the potential to work incredibly well with iOS. Right. The same way CarPlay is great for iOS. If you don't have an iOS device, the QNX system in the car will just work with whatever smartphone you have. But if you have an iPhone, you get all these extra features. And with an MFI program, if the company signs up for it, your device will just work so much better with an iPhone. And that, to me, makes this a believable rumor.
And I think for a lot of these, when you look at the home automation is just the tip of the iceberg. I think that really what you're looking at, I know for me again, that I'm always looking at is the dryer, the washer, the refrigerator, the microwave, all of those other things. I find it remarkable that the only thing that I really have connection to my iPhone in my house is my barbecue. Your eye grill. Yeah. And so the thing is like I'm like, this is crazy. I'm in a house, and the only thing that I can control
is cross-platform. Right. Works on Android. SmartThings works on Android. Sonos works on Android. So I don't think you have. I think you can do MFI, made for iOS, and just as these guys do, and still be cross-platform. I think that would be important, frankly.
Nexia works cross-platform. I mean, my friends have a Nexia system at home. They can unlock their door using their smartphone from across the world.
And it's fine if the best experience is on iOS. You know, that's not necessarily
or Android could compete to have a better experience, and they're both competing against each other. Good for us.
And the standard operating procedure for Apple in the past would be that we'll play with everybody until we're 80% of the market, and then we'll, roll out something that's much more specific to us.
Acknowledging this is a complete rumor. I like this rumor better than the Beats rumor. It makes more sense strategically. It is more of a global, the kind of global thing Apple likes to do, where it says, let's find a market, and because we're Apple, we can move into this market and be a market maker.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I like this. Beats is saying, oh, yeah, these other guys did it, so we're going to, that's not Apple. Apple says, no, we're going to figure it out. We may acquire pieces to put it together, but we're going to make the ecosystem. And I think that makes a lot more sense. So this rumor I would believe, and it is also the kind of thing, you could see Tim Cook just loving to get up on stage and said, remember those new categories I was talking about? You guys got it all wrong. It ain't a TV. It ain't a watch. It's this. And
Today,
I can see
Apple
him doing
revolutionizes
and I think
the house.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things
that's the kind of story they like to say.
Controllers from 1987. You're welcome.
Remember X10? Nah.
Well, but I think also that I think we may look back and look at Siri, the hobby or beta or whatever they have, and now something that's more serious, something very useful in these types of things. So being able to talk to your house and say turn on the living room lights, or all of those other things are things that Siri becomes much more useful for. And it's been able to develop itself with people using it. That might be kind of interesting.
What about drop cam? There was a rumor that Google, I feel like Google and Apple, this is the next battleground, is the smart home, right? Google's been rumored, Google acquired Nest, they're rumored to be looking at drop cam, which we love. These are those Wi-Fi enabled cameras. We use them all over the place. We have 8 or something as part of the Nest division.
I don't know. The drop cam, for some reason, Google owning Nest doesn't bother me. I have a Nest. Google owning drop cam. I would probably. I
didn't think of that.
I have to admit, I'd probably.
Wait a minute, but Apple bought Connect, right? So Apple's got a camera.
The old Connect company.
Yeah, but Apple's got a camera too. Don't.
No. There's a camera on my where I have my drop cams from a security perspective. And all this stuff. I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of a toss-up. It's sort of a toss-up between not wanting the single most aggressive, we want all the data we can get company to own this camera company, versus do you want a tiny underfunded, comparatively underfunded company to be responsible for making sure this thing is so secure that nobody in Russia, no Russian hacker group can find an exploit to basically canvas your entire house without your knowledge. That's the thing that always worries me whenever I get one of these things to sample. It's like, okay, how many employees do you have? 9? Okay, you're going to tell me the security credentials of every single one of these people and why I should make sure that there is not a weakness in the software that a random PQ guy can exploit.
Right.
Right. All right.
Well, right.
What else we going to see WWDC? The question engine says, Leo, why don't you just buy a Mac Mini? This is the top question, by the way. So we could be guaranteed to see a new one at WWDC.
Do it, Leo.
Because I'm waiting for the new Mac Mini.
Oh, I would love a Mac Mini.
But you're the only guy who buys them in quantity.
There's a lot of people that buy Mac Minis. You see them everywhere. I mean, they are.
Well, it is the cheapest Mac.
Well,
by far.
It's not only the cheapest Mac, is with a little bit more. I mean, it does a lot of processing in a very small amount of space. And it's used in glue. I mean, you see them. I'm in production locations all over the place, and you see these little Mac Minis. They're much more popular than Mac Pros. They're small. They can put them in there. They can have them do a lot of small processes. They're very, very popular, I think. I mean, maybe Apple knows something. Obviously Apple has the sales numbers. Maybe Apple disagrees.
When was the last update? 2 years ago?
It's been a long time ago.
500 and something days.
500 and something days, yeah. Who was it? Who was it that blog that happy birthday to the congratulations to the Mac Mini being the Mac that's gone the longest without an update?
Longer than the Mac Pro?
520 something days.
Wow.
Well, the Mac Pro's been updated now. So
No, but I mean, wasn't it like 3 years between updates for the Mac Pro? So it's been long. I think, is it as long?
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know. I felt the pain there. Very happy with the new Mac Pro, by the way. It's been running like a top.
Once we got that RAM.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the RAM. The whole thing was messed up.
Oh.
Then another stick died, so the whole thing was messed up. So Apple swapped it.
Okay, very good.
And now it's running great. And I'm running 2 cinema displays with 1 4K monitor. Got I don't know how many square inches there, but that's a lot.
What are you doing with all those monitors?
Oh, it's great. Now, this is living. Now I finally realized what I wanted a Mac Pro for. I've got Windows in one of them.
Right.
Humming along with 4 gigs of RAM, no problem.
Right.
I gave it 2 processors. No problem, running along. I got my chat room. I got the Twitter. I got email. I got my calendar. I got all this stuff open.
Right.
And then I sit there and go,
It's an ADD paradise.
And now I know, because remember I was saying, okay, when the new Mac Mini comes out, I'll do an A/B comparison, blind comparison, see if I can tell the difference. Now I know I would, because there's no way it would drive all that real estate.
That's right.
Efficiently.
Not enough GPU.
I can play Civilization in one screen, have the other 2 screens. Still have Windows running. So I think there's an opportunity. I mean, they did well with the Mac Pro. I think there's an opportunity. Do you think a complete redesign, like maybe they're doing a cylindrical Mac Mini?
Oh, I hope not. I mean, I think that one of the things that makes the Mac Mini work is the fact that it's rack mountable. I mean, it's that's part of the.
Well, let's put ears on it. Let's go all in on it. Let's make it a 1U.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, but I don't think they're going to do that, because I don't think they're interested in that.
They killed that business, the Xserve business.
It's great. The other thing a Mac Mini is great for is just having a kind of an Apple TV on steroids at home. Where you have something that you're using kind of like an Apple TV, and then you just switch over and surf the web in your living room. Not that I would ever do that.
But you could completely change the form factor at this point. You could make it look like a Rubik's Cube if you wanted to.
Yep. There's a company that makes one that looks like not a Rubik's Cube, but it's very, very, it's a little PC. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Yeah, the Nux. The new unit of computing. This is the Intel thing, but they're basically Apple TV sized.
No, there's another one that's a little bit bigger. They're pretty powerful.
I kind of like the idea of a square. It'd be kind of cool. A cube, a little cube.
Well, realize that if you're gonna have the same sort of expandability that you have on the current model, it's got 5 USB ports, it's got HDMI, it's got Ethernet. It's got multiple Lightning ports, I think. Then you're actually dealing with how much space does it have to be to actually accommodate on their ports. Also, how much square footage does it have to have contact with the table to make sure that all those cables don't tip it up or pull it over. So I would think that they would go for flatter rather than necessarily a smaller footprint. But you start off with thinking, what can you do once you decide that this doesn't have to have a mechanical hard drive, where this is going to be solid state only, and then move on from there. And that's how you decide how this thing's going to be designed.
I'm totally sold on something that I was very unsold on, which is the cylindrical shape of the Mac Pro, because it's really functional. It's just basically a blower.
Right. No,
this is what you're talking about. Gigabytes, bricks.
That's not it.
That's not it?
Go for a Tesseract.
Tesseract, huh?
It's a pretty high performance.
This is a NUC
that I'm talking about. Very high performance.
It has more storage on the inside than the other side.
The NUC is low power. Wait a minute. No, the bricks is a little taller than a NUC. It's like saying NUC. I'm just going to keep doing that.
Best names ever.
I'm very tempted to get a NUC. But see, if I would be really tempted to get Mac Mini. I have no use for it. But if it looked like that, if it were cute like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Mini's not cheap. It's what, $800 now. It's gotten, or $700. It's getting close to the Mac.
Problem is, once
Air
we
11.
soup them up, they're a lot more
soup
expensive.
them up.
The ones we get are like $2,000, but we've put like tons of RAM in them and SSDs and.
All right, so F.H. Fike of Maryland, USA. My answer is no. I will not buy a Mac Mini. I'm waiting, just like you.
He's holding out.
And I, truthfully, to be honest, as cute as that is, I don't think Apple's looking at me to see if I've bought one.
An unLeo-bot computer never refreshes.
Yeah, that's right. Don't watch the unLeo-bot computer. One for Renee. Why would inter-app communication be useful in iOS 8? Did you say something along those lines?
I was tweeting about that earlier because everyone says they want inter-app communications on iOS, but everyone has a very different definition of what that is. Some people think it means content sharing or default apps or a plugin architecture for things like 1Password or Text Expander. And for some people, it's just a dizzying array of different features. I was just curious to see when people said that they want inter-app communication, what actual problem they wanted solved. Like I know Andy's talked about just workflow workflow and being able to move files around. But is that internet communication, or is that a central file repository? So I just wanted a little bit of, I wanted to see where people were thinking about that.
I have to say, the one thing that I would love to see is LastPass have inter-app.
Does it on Android? I hate to tell you.
I know. It's so painful, though. You're there, like, I go to, because everything in my stuff is LastPass, and so you go in there, and all of my passwords, almost all of them are hashes.
You switch. You go over, you get the LastPass password, you copy it, you put it over. I agree. On Android, you can use a LastPass keyboard. That's how they solved that for a long time, and we just type it in for you.
Right.
And then the newest, and of course they have a LastPass browser. They do that on Apple, though. You have the LastPass browser, right?
Yeah.
And then the newest thing, when you go to a password, it's imperfect, but sometimes when you go to a password field, LastPass pops up and says, "Oh, you want me to fill this up for you?" That's what you want.
That's what I want.
Yeah,
like what we have with the web. It's just
and Android, because it's a more open system, and as a result less secure, does allow this. When you add a new program, for instance, the share buttons on iOS are Facebook and Twitter, because that's the deal Apple made, right?
Right.
When you add anything on Android, now the share button has this long, my share button goes on and on and on, because almost anything that you can share to now has an entry in the share field.
Right.
Well, they have open in, but they don't have send to, which is the opposite of open in. So it's a one-directional process on iOS.
Right. Open in, right. And then, there's some sort of signaling mechanism saying, I handle PDFs, so you can open in me. What is that called?
I don't know if it's an official name, but that's just the open in dialogue.
Open in. Thank you, Matt in Iowa, for that question. This is what you were talking about, Alex Lindsay, the Piston.
And if you look at this thing,
XI3 does some really sweet computers, by the way.
These are amazing.
These are their. I guess these are basically like the modern shuttle system, right?
Yeah, but if you look at to note to Andy,
4 USB 3 ports. 1, 2, 3, 4 USB. No. Yeah, 4 USB SATA.
Getting through the
2 ports, 4 SATA ports. Luggage. I don't know what that port. Oh, that's an optical audio port, Ethernet, HDMI.
Or I think it's a display port.
Two display ports. Holy camole!
Yeah, that's a lot of love there, and it's and they're powerful little machines.
That's just showing off. You can't drive all that stuff. It's just showing off. And this is modular, so you can add stuff to it. Actually, it says you can do HDMI, multiple displays. Quad core. Oh, it's an AMD processor. It's got a Radeon 7660G, 8 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs SSD. Yeah, this could be a Mac Mini.
Yeah,
this could be a Mac. I don't see Apple making something with of that. Oh, look, you glue it to a monitor. This is what you do with your Mac Minis.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is you look at we've been looking at using these for a bunch of those things where you can actually attach them to the back of the monitor with a lot of beef.
It looks like one of those aliens in Half-Life that go the face huggers. I've got your monitor.
But for a lot of streaming solutions, we've been looking at possibly using some of these because they're so tiny.
They call it the Piston, the X7A from XI3. That's pretty cool.
You really have to think about luggage a lot when you're looking at equipment for your company, don't you, Alex?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
If it doesn't fit in a Pelican case, he don't want it.
Well, there's definitely things that we have trouble with because they'll be just a little too wide or a little too high or whatever. But definitely size does matter for us, and small is really, small and light, is what we're trying to always try to figure out.
Well, I think you should take a look at a Piston.
Yep.
So that actually answers the next big question on the question engine. How would the Mac Mini redesign look? From Simon
the Piston,
in Sweden.
But without the little humps. Like just a little cube the size of the Piston.
A Rubik's Cube would be awesome.
I would go crazy. That's all I got to say.
Let's take a break. When we come back, more with our big group of wonderful panelists. We've got Alex Lindsay in studio, Renee Ritchie from iMore.com, Andy Anako from the Chicago Sun-Times. Our show today brought to you by Shutterstock, but a new product from Shutterstock I want to tell you about called Offset. If you go to offset.com/welcome/MacBreak, you can find out all about it. The idea is, we got a gift for you too, by the way, if you go there. The idea is Shutterstock is known for its royalty-free images, but how would you like really high-quality images, high-end photos and illustrations from the world's top editorial and commercial artists? Now we're talking Offset. This is a new brand from Shutterstock. Gorgeous, gorgeous imagery. As photographers, you know, we really appreciate what Offset is doing. Just really gorgeous stuff. High quality images from the top editorial photographers and illustrators around the world. Talent featured in magazines like Condé Nast Traveler and National Geographic, national advertising campaigns. Every single image, of course, reviewed for artistic distinction and narrative quality by Offset's professional team of photo editors. As much as important as photography is, the photo editor is really a key. The guy who says this one, not that one, is so key to this. So these tend to be editorial shots. Look at these, just gorgeous, or designs too. They're not pose shots; they're real life moments in many cases. Each image has 2 price points: $250 for the image size suitable for the web. You want high resolution for print, $500. Every image is royalty free. Terms are simple and generous. You get rights managed quality. Professional experience, award-winning photographers and illustrators. Gorgeous stuff. I'll give you an example. Dave Duchemin, or Chemin, I'm not sure. These are the kind of guys we used to have on Twit Photo, and I just loved having them on. He is a humanitarian assignment photographer.
He's
best-selling author. You know him?
I have met him in passing, but I've seen a lot of his work.
He's from Vancouver, but he's got he's got images on all 7 continents. Powerful images. While creating art, he is also creating editorial images that are just going to be gorgeous. I would buy these and print them, to be honest, and hang them on the wall. Explore Offset today. Sign up for a free account. You don't have to pay to get the account. And for a buy one get one free image on new accounts, go to offset.com/welcome/MacBreak. Wow, wow. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go through these for printing on and putting up on the wall. I mean, this is gorgeous stuff. Offset.com/welcome/MacBreak. Take a look. Gorgeous stuff. Continuing on with MacBreak Weekly. We could take some more questions from the engine in a bit, but if you haven't, this is only useful if you're watching live. It is bit.ly/404mbw.
Correct.
And you can pose your questions there. But there's an important function you can have there, even if you're not posing questions. You vote them up, and we take the most upvoted questions. Right. We don't even look at questions that are downvoted. So that's how we moderate it. In effect, you moderate it for us. Just a programming note, we will cover the keynote live. Mike Elgin and I, Alex Lindsay, will be here covering the keynote live, 10 a.m. Pacific on Monday. That is 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC. I don't think they're streaming it.
Yeah, they are.
They are?
Yes.
Thank you, Apple. I love you, Apple.
So nice.
They're streaming that, and for developers, they're streaming State of the Union and the ADA Awards.
But you have to be signed in and have a developer account.
But for the main keynote is free for everybody.
Yeah, so we won't be able to rebroadcast the others, but we'll do the keynote, and we'll do our usual Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing, where we'll sit in front of the screen. If you want to watch the keynote without our blather, you can absolutely. I encourage you to do that. But if you want to get commentary on top of it, sometimes snarky, but mostly not.
Pithy.
I will say it's harder now because I think that the presentations have gotten more. They've gotten more pithy. They're a little bit more efficient, so there's less time in between for us to sit there and chat. Because I think in the old ones, I think it was just there was a lot of stuff that I was interested in listening.
A lot of sitting through a demonstration of now how you play things in iTunes, and
or how successful we've been, and this is how many we sold.
You know they're going to do that. They always start. Steve Jobs set the template. This first 10 minutes, our stores are doing wonderfully.
Now that we have all of your attention, we'd like to say these things and bore you to death.
I want to find Keynote Bingo for 2014.
For some years, they had app demo after app demo, like 45 minutes of one app.
And they'd bring in partners to do it, Electronic Art. That was boring, I agree.
Yeah, stop with the partners.
I don't see nobody has yet to do bingo for this year's. Well, here's an app. There's an Apple Bingo app. I don't think
it is interesting how long this keynote is scheduled to go on. That's definitely
2 hours, right?
It's definitely a WWDC style keynote. So they are not going to be showing, I think, like 20 different things. I think they've got 2 or 3 really big things to show off. So if there's a new, for instance, if they do show off iOS 8 or macOS 10.11, that's going to be just a long 45 minutes of here's let me walk you through this brand new interface we've put together. Here are why we've made these design choices. Here's how great this looks, and here's how fast this operates. This is got a lot. It's going to be a long time of having to make the case of why they're making a big change, rather than walking us through. And we've also have a new version of iPhoto. We've made the buttons a little bit more square. Now you can look at the buttons that are more square. I think that they got a lot to disseminate. So.
And a lot of this, I mean, while they are streaming it and they're going to talk to it, we have to remember that the purpose of this is to show developers what they should be developing towards. So, you know, that's the thought process anyway. Like, here's new hardware that you're going to get to develop for. This is new software, new infrastructure issues, so on and so forth. I think that is the context for this, as opposed to a iLife launch or something else.
And OS 10, 10.10 is getting a lot of buzz, especially for developers. It's supposed to be.
What's going to be different in 10.10?
Superficially, the redesign, but a lot of people are hearing that Apple's making changes that will be very, very interesting for developers as well.
This is normally would be the minor update.
It's so hard to tell now because
Snow Maverick.
Yeah. I don't think that's operative anymore. I think that Apple is really in a position of getting themselves ready, as I said, for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. All I can say is that I really think that if you are a developer with a really important product, enjoy that. Be with your family, be with your children before Monday, because after Monday, your life gets a lot different.
Is this really more like more like OS 11 than OS 10.10?
No, so I mean, to put it in context, there was a lot of stuff that when Johnny Ive and when Craig Federighi were sort of unified in Tim Cook's new management structure that they wanted to do, but it's physically impossible for that team to work any harder than they do. I mean, they worked to the point of exhaustion, and they had to get iOS 7 done last year, so they couldn't do OS 10 at the same time. And now they've had a year to refine iOS 8, but they've also had a year to sort of get OS 10 to where their visions wanted to be, and that's had a lot of significance.
There has been significant amount of negativity over Mavericks. I don't mind Mavericks. I like it. I haven't had big problems with it, but a lot of people have.
I don't mind Mavericks.
You like it?
I just don't have it on any.
You didn't put it on that? Okay, well, that's my question, because you're slow to put this stuff on your production systems.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some issues with some of with the 1 or 2 computers that we added.
Well, and 10.9.3 has a problem apparently with Final Cut.
So we've been very slow. And the problem is we can't upgrade to some stuff because of that. Right. Know, some of the so we'll slowly move forward. We've decided to kind of wait until see what Apple talks about here. We're kind of skipping the initial Mavericks launch.
Interesting.
So
I still have one important computer that's not running Mavericks yet. And it's not because I'm holding off because of any specific reason. I think it really is just because there's nothing specifically in Mavericks that says, oh my God, I really got to upgrade that last machine to make sure that this can do that wonderful thing that all my other computers can do. Right. Albeit this is for an older computer that's about 2 or 3 years old, but it just goes to show you. I think that we're all kind of hot for a new version of the Mac that says, I'd be a fool to wait any longer than I have to get access to this sort of speed, this sort of convenience, and this sort of easy use.
So
exciting.
Syrah, S-Y-R-A-H is the code name. When will 10.10 be out, you think? Later this year?
That's the usual
If they follow the same template, yeah. See to developers next week, and then general release end of August or early September. So, or they could once again promise this year sometime and then take until December.
There's no 10.10 out now. There's no beta, no seed program, no beta.
Yes, I'm sorry. So, now that Apple is really hammering code names or product names rather than numbers, I honestly have to do a get info to remind myself what number I am on right now.
Yeah, I'm on 10.9.3. I think
Mavericks first. I don't think 10.9 first. So sorry if I said 10.11. I don't think that Apple's going to be showing off 10.11 next week.
If the API changes are significant, developers will need time to get used to them and to implement them.
I like Nilesh in our chat room who said Yosemite's celebrating its 150th anniversary this year. OS 10 Yosemite would be quite a good name. I think it would be an excellent name.
Yeah.
But we don't have a name yet.
Wasn't that a code name for one of the Macs?
Yosemite, yeah, that sounds familiar.
I think it was one of the Mac Pros or something, or maybe a chip or something like that.
10.10 a free upgrade?
Yeah.
That's the pattern now. That's what they've said going forward.
Continue to be free. Later this year, perhaps, if they're on schedule, although no one's seen any bits. So there are no leaks about what 1010 might be. You said a new design, Renee. What is that?
So again, Johnny Ive has taken over as head of design. Previously, Scott Forstall's team, the human interface team, Steve Jobs, they all had opinions on what the design should look like. Johnny Ive now is head of design for the entire company. He has very strong opinions of what design should look like. iOS 7 reflects what that is in mobile, and we'll get a chance to see what that looks like in terms of desktop computing soon. And one of the things to remember is Apple spent a really long time making the Mac not work like iOS, but look like iOS. So all those iOS users could be more comfortable if they would then wanted to have the halo effect and go towards a Mac. And iOS 7 changed that fundamentally. Everything looks totally different now. So getting a little bit of that familiarity back would probably be beneficial for them.
Yeah. I think overall, not so much making the Mac look more like iOS, so much as to look like macOS and iOS are both products of the same shop. Which is not something they have right now. I mean, if you look at the dock right now, I'm looking at it right now, and there's practically, it really is a laundry list of everything they wanted to get rid of pre-iOS 7, where you've got, it's three-dimensional, you've got shadows, every icon is like a little photograph, like a little piece of artwork, as opposed to a little piece of graphic design. So obviously, the things that we want to immediately start guessing about are flattened interface, more icons that are circles, maybe a change to the system font, to make it a little bit more Retina friendly, even though it's interesting to take these guesses, though, because when you look at, in retrospect, every single design choice I think that Apple made for iOS 7 was there to reflect the fact that every single iOS device practically is now a Retina grade display. And now you no longer need drop shadows. You no longer need thick fonts with anti-alias text, because you don't have to fake a really good display. You now have a really good display. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the choices that Apple makes, given that they can't now make a redesign that is just for the Retina MacBook Pro or even a future Retina MacBook Air. They have to be okay with the idea of someone having a Mac Mini that's connected to a Samsung monitor, or someone who has a MacBook Air 13-inch or a MacBook Air 11-inch that doesn't have a Retina display yet. So there's going to be a lot of interesting choices to be made there. But one last thing, though, is that I think that maybe we're jumping the gun by always talking about Johnny Ive and his influence and his thoughts and his imperatives. The more I talk to people, the more I have to remind myself that Apple really is a team effort. Even where design is concerned, that they don't necessarily, it's one person or even one small group of people who are calling the shots for everybody. I really think that everybody at every level is on the same page. That's why I refer to it as a house design sort of, as opposed to having separate products that have separate interfaces and looks like they might have been made by two different companies.
What else? Well, we'll see iOS 8. We know a little bit about that because that has been kind of leaking out, including HealthBook. I'm thinking maybe what's the world going to say when we get to the end of the day on Monday? And by the way, we'll do our MacBreak Weekly on Monday this week instead of next week, instead of Tuesday. So right after the keynote, Andy's going to be in town. Renee's going to be in town. They're going to whip up here. You'll be here, Alex Lindsay. And we'll do a special MacBreak Weekly right after our coverage. What if he says nothing about an iWatch, nothing about Apple TV, nothing about the Mac Mini?
Silence.
Are people going to be
if there's enough
frustrated?
I think that if there's enough improvements with iOS 8 and with the new OS and a lot of other services, but I think they're going to talk about hardware. I mean, there's got to be some hardware that's coming out.
We've heard new MacBooks, maybe new MacBook Airs. Is that what you think?
It's hard. I mean, first of all, like with an iWatch, Apple has never announced a new product category at WWDC. It's a developers conference. Like the iPhone was introduced at Macworld, the iPad was introduced at a special event.
Yeah, but this is the only scheduled event Apple does all year, isn't it?
Well, no, but they'll have
they
an
can
iPhone
drop something on the
event
schedule.
Yeah, I know.
But I think that the only thing about the reason, the argument for both home automation and the iWatch, if they did it, and possibly opening up Apple TV, would be obviously telling developers that this is something that you should be building apps for.
So I'm giving you the chance, though, to say, no, and you just did, I guess. No, don't expect much about these products because this is not where you would announce them.
Yeah,
and as you said, maybe an API.
I think that I think that this is they're always famously they release their schedule of classroom things at WWDC. They're always those like sort of to be announced later sort of slots.
Right.
I think that this is if they don't announce I don't think they're going to announce a larger screen iPhone, but I think this is going to be the one in which they absolutely want to make sure that everybody who came to this conference, who was an iOS developer, left this conference understanding how to create a screen size independent iOS app, and who understands that if you do not that after a certain there's going to be a point at which you can submit an app to the App Store that is not screen size independent, that will be either summarily rejected or will be forced to look like crap on future devices.
Right.
And I think that's the big deal that's going to be coming up.
And then they might play "See You in September" at the end of the conference.
Right.
And the other thing that's important to remember is things like a Retina MacBook Air. If that's built on the Broadwell platform, Intel has delayed the Broadwell platform, and that probably makes it difficult to slot in products that you might have wished came out roundabout now are now subject to that. Yeah, Apple isn't with the Mac. They are very bound to Intel's roadmap.
Yeah, it's a good slot to do like a simple refresh to the Mac Mini. Again, a performance upgrade as opposed to a redesign. You got 2 hours to fill. You're gonna need to have some breaks in between, like the 45 minutes of slides that are packed with new phrases, of which they only point out 3, of which we're frantically screenshotting to make sure we can look up these things later on. So it's if you want to make a wager, it's a good idea to look at second tier products that haven't had a refresh in a while and say, okay, this is a good time to spend 10 minutes on 2 slides that explain how they've updated these things. I'm not sure we're going to see anything hardware in terms of watch wise or wearable wise.
You know who we might see is Angela Arendts. I think it'd be great if instead if Tim Cook says, to tell you about how well we're doing in our Apple stores and Apple retail, here's Angela Arendts, our newest.
Yeah, and
cool.
She has a great presence on. I mean, she's done a lot of Salesforce events, which we've done a lot of.
Really?
And so
nice English accent.
She's American.
She's American. Yeah. But she just has a great presence on stage, and so there's
good.
She should definitely. There
hasn't been a woman presenting on stage for Apple in a long time.
Yeah,
if ever.
I'm not sure.
There've been engineers presenting, but not
female engineers.
Engineer demos that I remember, but I can't think of any executive.
Ellen Hancock didn't. I think this would be a good time to get a well-spoken woman up there and say, "Look, this is here's our newest." I'd love to see Johnny get on stage. He never will. Never.
He did at the Mac when they announced the unibody MacBook Air. He got up on stage and passed around the body panel, but he does it very rarely.
Yeah. Apple's new ads have gotten even more effete. I have to say, Apple really seems to be aiming at the high end. They feature Esa-Pekka Salonen, who is, according to Apple, a renowned composer and conductor. I guess I'm just ignorant, of the high-end modern music scene. But he uses an iPad Air to engage a contemporary audience. He created the Orchestra app to share his love of classical music. This is really interesting. What is your verse?
What is your verse?
Yeah.
That is really already kind of a high-end thing. This isn't the ad, actually. This is a video on the site. They have one of those super sites all around it. He's a conductor as well as a composer. And he uses, apparently, the iPad Air. It's really interesting how
the ad was really interesting, showing him composing music on an iPad or arranging it, and then suddenly it shows up, preparing it all and then putting it out on.
Let me find the ad,
which I thought it was a pretty very interesting.
Verse ads are very heavy and they're very different than the gigantic ads for iPhone, for example.
They don't seem to be aimed at a normal person.
They demand you live a better life, Leo.
I mean, is this appealing to people? Like, look, you could be a world-class composer and travel writer and choreographer, or no,
it's pretty clear. It's everybody wants to think of themselves as an artist, as a creative person, as an inventor, as a maker. And if you can sell somebody a tool that will help them to unlock that desire within themselves and turn it into an actual thing, that's a good way to get them to pony up an extra $80, $90, $100, $200 on a device. It helps that the iPad is actually a device that can help you do those things. But I really think that they're reaching towards people who want to learn things, want to do things, and they figure that if not for this Dell laptop, I would be composing flute concertos too.
Well, I think
that's your problem. You're using a Dell. Here's the ad, Esa-Pekka's verse. Esa-Pekka Salonen. I guess it's compelling. I mean, it's interesting.
I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting. This is not a Mac Pro ad, is it?
Right.
It's an iPad Air ad.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's not wearing Beats headphones. He's wearing those white headphones.
Your verse is all iPad Air.
That's the whole idea of your verse.
Yeah.
There are other ads.
I don't know if you remember the iPad 2 commercial, technology, like we believe technology alone is not enough. This is the linear successor.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And I think it's a great ad. I mean, do they only show it on PBS?
Well, but I think that...
By the way, no words in that entire ad. So those of you listening at home, you didn't miss anything. It's just...
International.
Music. Yeah. International. Yeah.
Well, I think that one of the things that distinguishes the iPad, I think, and more from the applications, not from the capability, but there are more applications that allow you to do, I think, some of the really deep creation tools. You know, some of those I think are better than the stuff I've seen on Android. As far as the interface, as far as that process, so it distinguishes it as a creation tool, not just a consumption tool. I think a lot of people look at the iPad as a consumption tool, but I think they really want to keep it moving towards this is a creation tool. This is
even
something
the iPhone ads, and the iPhone you would could argue that's not a creation tool. Really are about creation. In this case, again, music.
Yeah. Well, I use my iPhone, iPod touches, and tablets as tools far more than I use them for anything else, whether it's phone or communication or surfing or whatever. They're specific tools within our pipeline.
Boy, I mean, when Steve Jobs said some people are going to need a truck, apparently the truck is now the iPad Air.
Right.
I mean, has Apple done a Macintosh ad in a long time?
No, but I mean, this is where the money is made.
Right. And in a way, they're saying, look, you can compose music on an Air. You don't need a MacBook. This actually is more than just music. Now they're showing a father making a video. I really like this ad. At first I thought, but I've come to like this ad. And again, international, there's no words. There's the one that they don't own anymore. That's WordLens. They sold that got sold to Google.
Especially when you compare this to that tone deaf by comparison Intel tablet ad that's been running.
Yeah.
Where here you have an ad in which you see 24 people using a dozen different apps, all of them beautiful, to do a variety of really impressive things. The Intel tablet ad has one guy. Essentially, it's hard to tell whether this tablet is doing anything but simply playing a pre-recorded beats track. He's some sort of street musician, and if you look him up, he's on Twitter. He has 40 followers. And you can see some. No, I'm being absolutely true, absolutely honest here. I looked up the name, and he is a street musician. You can see a couple of interviews with him talking about being. I think he said he was impressed by Richard Stallman, which is kind of a deep.
Oh, this guy is this is the. Oh, I actually know that guy.
Do you?
Yeah, he's in San Francisco all the time. He's amazing, by the way.
Really?
Like whether he's,
it's just, but
these guys are actual street performers
though.
At Market and Forth.
That's the problem. You're seeing all he's doing is sort of dancing around with a tablet in his hand. You see him sort of tapping things. Intel's got a problem
because Intel doesn't make a tablet, so these are generic. These have to be very generic kind of things.
Their chips aren't used in most tablets,
and most of them are ARM.
He could have been holding a clipboard from Staples. It doesn't leave you thinking, my goodness, I like the cut of that Intel chips jib. I want to look into this.
Well, I think you don't get a sense of what he's actually doing with the tablet. I think that's the problem. Is he's dancing around with it, and he's whether he's affecting the music or not.
Like he's playing it. I mean,
but one access is rhythm, one access is scale, according to the article that I read. Mm-hmm. Because I was also thinking, oh my God, he is totally going to break that section of the motherboard that headphone jack is plugged into, with that heavy cable plugged into it.
It reminds me of the early Motorola Verizon commercials for tablets when the iPad first came out, and iPad 2 came out, and they had that technology alone is not enough commercial. And right after that, they had the Motorola one where it said, "How do I get my wife to let me buy this?" And the guy said, "You tell her it's got a quad-core processor." It doesn't tell the story of the device.
Let's go back to the question engine in just a second. Get your questions in at bit.ly/404MBW. That's it, 404MBW. And we'll take the top the top questions.
So vote them up. So if you don't have a question, go there.
You don't have to have a question.
It's to bit.ly/404MBW and just vote on stuff so that we know what you want to hear, and then we'll go from there.
Our show today brought to you by our friends at hover.com. I just registered a whole bunch of domain names at hover.com. It's the domain registrar of choice that I use. I'm a fan. It's a great way not only to get your domains registered quickly and easily, but then once you have the domains, to completely manage them. It's very simple. They don't upsell you because they don't sell hosting.
Right.
You know, they make it easy. And in fact, you know, what they do is they build in all the stuff that you would normally want. You don't have to click 50 times to get who is privacy, for instance. That's built in. They've got great telephone support. You can register a domain for you or for your business. Add email to any of your domains. They make it very easy to transfer your domains. I did. I moved all my domains over to hover.com, and their concierge service did it. I mean, it's just great. Actually, I did it myself, which is stupid. Use the concierge service. You'll save yourself a lot of time. Advanced DNS management, bulk management tools. If you have a lot of domain names, that's really nice. When you're looking for the best place to register a domain name, just ask the geeks. They'll tell you. Programmers, designers, developers all love Hover. But you don't have to be an expert to get a domain. It's so simple to use. And right now, there's a new top level domain that I really like. You'll see it at the very top of the Hover page. .club. The new .club. If you're in the Muncie Rotary Club, get the Muncie Rotary .club. You know, and that could be your new domain. Great for any social club, country club. Your book club, swordandlaser.club.
Or like wooden.club.
Wooden.club. Hit me with your
club.
They're searchable. They're treated the same way in Google search results. They, you know, and because they're brand new, you have a much better chance of getting your name. You don't have to have those dashes or the real twit.club. Nice TLD. This is a new one from Hover, but they've got them all. Visit hover.com. Use our promo code MBW5, MBW and the number 5, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. When it comes time, when you're thinking, I need a new domain name, get one at Hover. I just bought like 50. Hover.com. Well, because I like to, just in case, I like to get the, you know, when there's a new TLD, I like to get all the variations and stuff, just in case I want them. I might eat them, and they're so affordable, it's very easy to do. Hover.com. Use the offer code MBW5. Back to the question engine. This is an interesting one. And in fact, exactly something we were going to talk about next, which is this big issue in Australia. Now, I don't think this is something that's going to hit most of you because you're smart.
Right.
But apparently people are getting hijacked and ransomed using, I gather, Find My iPhone on iCloud. Let me go to this story from theage.au because I think they have an image. It says Oleg Pliss has hacked your device.
Right.
But
damn him.
It doesn't really seem like they want any money because the email address that's given isn't real. You can't actually.
Apparently, he's a well-known researcher who's probably not involved in this kind of
he's at Oracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing is kind of stupid.
It's Australia only. They're only hacking Find My iPhone when your Apple ID would give them access to a lot more things. They're asking for variable but very low sums of money. The whole thing is incredibly. It's like kids stealing a car to go on a joyride sort of stuff.
It's kind of silly vandalism. It's not an issue if you have a passcode on your iPhone. Won't affect it. If you have a good password on your iCloud account, you probably won't get affected.
And I would like to say, if you don't have a passcode on your iPhone, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
The PayPal account they're using, lock404 at hotmail.com, is not real. No. So they're not actually asking for money. It's just a kid, some kid.
There's a theory that they hacked something else, and people who are using the same password for Find My iPhone that they use on whatever was hacked are the people.
Yeah, and this is a really big no-no that everybody does. I used to do it, which is you don't want to remember a bunch of passwords, so you use one password everywhere.
You should use 1Password or LastPass.
Not a single password on all your accounts, because
you know, want a strong, unique
eBay.
password.
What if you used your eBay password everywhere? And now, of course, eBay's been hacked, and you've got to change your password everywhere. So, and the real problem is that they can try it. And they can say, oh, look, let's see if it works on Twitter. Let's see if it works on Facebook. Let's see if it works on iCloud. Right. Now, they said two-factor authentication can be enabled.
Yes. In many countries, Apple has two-factor authentication.
Okay. Not my country?
Yes, it's the U.S., Canada, Australia.
Okay.
About 12 countries, I think, now.
Yeah. So you go to your Apple ID, you select Manage Your Apple ID, you sign in, you select the Password and Security tab, and then you can, you know, I can't remember my secret questions. That's probably part of it.
That's the thing. If you have a password manager like 1Password or LastPass, don't put in real secret questions because it's easy to socially engineer those.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Put in characters or words or something, and then store those in your password manager as well.
I wish they would just stop using secret questions. It's such a terrible security flaw. Fortunately, I can reset my security info by sending myself an email, so I'll do that. And I haven't used a second factor. I'm a big second factor fan. That sounds like a good idea. How does that work? Can you use Google Authenticator? What are you going to use on that?
I don't know if they support Google Authenticator, but I believe it's
They'll send a text message?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not so bad, is it?
And it's one of those things that, again, like, it's a security story, so it's being widely misreported, and often only the sensational parts of it are being reported. But for me, it's like it's a cautionary tale that you want strong, unique passwords in as many places as you can, and you want to follow all the stuff Steve Gibson talks about routinely on.
I really moved. Once I got really comfortable with things like LastPass and so on and so forth, I've really gotten into I'm just using hashes for almost everything. 20 character hashes.
I use the longest, randomest password the site will allow me to. The sad thing is many sites won't allow you good long.
Right.
A lot of them say, oh, you can't use special characters, or oh, it can only be 12 letters.
Right.
Which is really annoying.
Yeah.
It really highlights that problem.
Right.
Nevertheless, yeah.
But even then,
use
and the main thing is
1Password.
And
please get a password vault.
And the key is, and by the way, when you use those, the one thing that I have a lot of different computers that I work on is you just know that you can there's a setting that says when I log into a new computer, unlog me out from everything else.
Right.
And so that you're constantly making sure that you only have one, that, because using something like 1Password or LastPass, where with great power comes great responsibility, leaving that opened or not having a really good password for that really puts you in a position of a serious problem. So definitely keep your security up really high on those. But make sure that all your passwords, all my passwords, and I wasn't always this way, but all of my passwords are, almost all of them are hashes, except for ones that I know that I'll have to log into on a web page, without LastPass, So, and even those are complicated. And then the main thing is they're all different. Like this problem that you're seeing is people using the same password, most likely.
We don't know.
But it's a very common hacking solution is for I get 1Password and I'll test it on all the other things to see if I can get a hold of it. And so having an individual password for everything that you do is very important. Someone asked what a hash is. A hash is just a crazy number of characters, or whatever, just random characters. Hash is like random characters. It's not Memphis or whatever you might use for that.
So thank you, Mr. Magpie, for your question. I am going to click it. Done.
Excellent.
Done. We're moving on to our next question. This comes from Mark Burnett, Costa Mesa, California. Will Apple ever improve Siri's voice recognition and speech synthesis so it's as good as Google's? I think many people think it's as good as Google's. I don't accept your premise, my friend.
I think it's close.
Google does on-device parsing. Like Google has, especially on the Moto X, they have the coprocessors that just do natural language and just do context awareness. And that lets them do a lot of stuff locally. And also Google hired the co-founder of, what's that company called? Nuance, who has tons of patents in the area. And Nuance is very good about enforcing their patents. Yeah. So Apple has trouble when there's network problems because they can't get to Siri to parse it. And it'd be nice if they moved that on device. Also, Apple's not willing to take your data and do big data analysis and things with it in the cloud. So they can't offer the features, or they choose not to offer the features that Google now does. So given those limitations, they do a pretty good job, but there's still areas they could go into.
I think Siri's dictation is actually pretty good, but you're right. That is the big frustration: is you talk for 15 minutes and then it says, "Sorry, I can't get on the number." It's like, come on, just record it and try later.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Commander.
Also, it's interesting.
Go ahead.
Google now is actually now getting more conversational. My biggest frustration with it used to be that you would have to remember to say, set an appointment for next Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. at this place with this note here. And if you screw up any of it, you then have to pick up the phone and start typing things in. Now it'll actually do Siri like, okay, well, where do I do this? And is this okay? Do you want me to send this now? And what phone number do you want me to text this to? So
yeah,
I will say, though, that I think that Siri's voice is more pleasant than the Android voice, at least the stock one.
I do love Google Now. I have to say, I'm totally hooked on it.
What I'd really like to see is Spotlight access the Siri engine, because there's some situations where it's just not polite or that you just are not capable of talking to your phone.
Right.
And if I could just type some stuff into Spotlight and that would go off to Siri's engine and do the same kind of, almost like, Quicksilver or Alfred or whatever, do the same sort of actions and commands, I think that'd be great.
I like that.
Yeah. It underscores Siri as a different type of application interface, not just a set of voice commands for a personal assistant.
I didn't watch the Today Show this morning. Was it this morning that Hoda's password was hacked in 20 seconds by a security expert? Whoops. And then Hoda says, I use the same password on all my accounts. And he says, good, now you're going to change it.
I think he just turned the phone over and read the Post-it note that she had left on the back of her caller
password in 20 seconds. Give me a break. What a setup.
Well,
you can guess. If it's a really terrible password, you say, Hoda, what's your birthday? What's your child's name? Okay, let me try that.
Right.
That's all the time you have.
Types in the word password.
But it works for so many accounts. It's amazing.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like I have actually done a cold case like that on a couple of different people over the past 5 years, because they think that I've got some sort of magic security bypass code because I know that about iOS, and all I did was just on my phone looked up 100 most common passwords, and oftentimes you'll get it by number 27.
Wow, that's depressing.
Yeah,
Commander Cody in Oakland, California. Smoke that cigarette. Will Apple ever release a new Thunderbolt display? The current line is long in the tooth, and many of us have been waiting for years for one with a new form factor that looks a little more like the iMac. Why such a long time between hardware refreshes? I think this might be time for Apple to release a 4K display. That 4K support in 10.9.3 is very good. That might indicate that there's something in the works. I have an LED cinema display, a Thunderbolt cinema display, and then a Thunderbolt 4K display. So I have like all the generations, and they look good. The big problem is the bezel. I would love to get that bezel size down.
I could definitely see Apple going with a very thin bezel, for something like that, 4K, possibly very large. I think, and
mine's
I think
31.5 inches, $2,500. That's the one Apple's selling in the store too, the Sharp.
Right.
It's an IGZO display. The color accuracy seems every bit as good as Apple's displays.
But I think this is a great safe place. Again, I said this on the show in the past, but I think it's a great safe place for Apple to put Apple TV circuitry into it and have this as the first, see if people not only buy it as a monitor, but buy it as their TV.
Yeah, the only question for me still is whether traditionally they've put the new panels in the iMac first, and then when they had supply, when that was supply balanced, they put it in the display. But now they've got this Mac Pro sitting out there, so could that tilt things in the favor of putting out a 4K display?
4K still are really well. Wait a minute, no. Samsung has a sub $1,000 60 hertz 4K display. I don't know how good it is.
But does 4K make sense for an iMac? Like, are they assuming that everybody who's buying iMacs now would want a 4K display in there?
I don't think so.
This might be the exception.
It requires pretty heavy-duty GPU capabilities. I mean, it's not something you just want to.
But I think that there's a lot of pent-up demand for a 4K monitor because of all these people buying Mac Pros
Well, they're losing money to Asus and Sharp. That's what's happening. And by the way, I recommended it last week. I can highly recommend that Asus PQ321. What a great monitor!
Right,
all that 4K money on the table.
$2,500, but maybe there's no margin in it. I don't know.
Also,
the Apple logo, the margin goes up, Leo.
Yeah, that's right. That's worth $500.
It's very, very expensive. The adhesive that puts that logo is made.
Yes.
They're a total forest they have to tear apart to find the one insect whose chitinous body glue can be used to affix an Apple logo to something.
I couldn't be happier with that monitor and with that setup, especially because high DPI is here. So it's Retina. I have a Retina 31-inch. I know. Look at that. Thank you, Commander Cody. Should we do a couple more?
Yeah.
This is fun. I love the question engine. Sarah Lane, that's a joke. That's somebody posting as Sarah Lane. I'm not going to read that one.
Check the IP address.
Yeah, right. Sarah Lane. It got voted up because I think people thought it was Sarah Lane. She says, I want to cover WWDC. It's true. And as the only qualified woman on staff at Twitter, I deserve it. That's not Sarah Lane talking, I can tell you right now. And by the way, yes, come on in, Sarah. You could be on the show. Martin, Harrow on the Hill. In fact, I think she's planned to be. Martin, Harrow on the Hill, Harrow, Greater London, HA1 UK. Hello, Martin. Will we see a range of iBeacon Apple and approved MFI-B? Oh, I like that. Made for iBeacon accessories for multiple use cases, launched to complement the home iFamily services. I think if they announce a home service, it will use iBeacon. Will there be an approved for iBeacon, made for iBeacon approval process?
Well, one of the things I think that Apple does need to make the case of, and I think WWDC is a good place to do that, is making a case for how to use iBeacon and not just as an ad server. You know, and so I think that figuring out ways to, whether it's at a museum or at a shopping mall, but not a shopping mall like I want to send you ads, but I want to know where my kids are. I want to know where to find a specific store. I want to, you know, there's a lot of use cases for iBeacon. And right now, most of the ones we've seen have been horrible, just blatant ad-serving solutions. And I don't think that that's really, that's not what you want first to get people using it.
Here is our beat of the week from Indian EDM producer Metro Gnome. It's the iPhone ringtone mixed with Siri to make a dance tune every Apple fan will love.
Did he work on the bridge, the Enterprise D? That's a really cool interface he's got in front of him.
That's a MPC. It looks like the Akai. I actually bought that for my son. He couldn't figure out how to use it. I still have it. In fact, who did I give that to? I gave it to Jason Howell. The DJs love these. They're called MPCs. And you can assign to the tap pads different sounds. It's kind of a dead mousy kind of thing. I like this.
Yeah.
I want this as my ringtone. Look at this, Jason. Are you using that MPC I gave you? You better be.
Problem is that everyone...
No, but I'm not using most of my studio setup right now.
It just looks good, though.
But I have it. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it looks nice.
It makes things... Yes, it also takes up a lot of space, so I have to figure things out.
It's huge. It's got a hard drive.
But yeah, that on the left, that's the Cuneo. It's like...
This should be the theme.
That's the one we talked about, which is really cool.
We reviewed it on before.
Very affordable. That's
so he's using both of them.
Like $200. What's the one on the right? Is that an Akai?
That looks like an MPC to me.
Yeah, it definitely is an MPC.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one. But...
This sounds good. Oh, here comes Siri.
I'm sorry, I couldn't make that out.
I guess the network was down when he recorded this. This is good.
Problem is everyone keeps on checking their phone while they're listening to it. This should be the theme for MacBreak.
I want to, yeah. Let's contact him and see if we can buy it. I'd love to make this the theme for MacBreak.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh, I want to buy this.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club. Late night at MacBreak Weekly.
I think and all of them are ringtones, right? They're all the sounds.
From Metro. No.
Oh, that's cute. He used his name. The DJs do that these days.
Yeah.
Gotta get your name in there.
But would Apple allow you to use...
It's gonna rock.
They probably copyrighted that piece of music.
Drop it.
Drop it. This is quite good.
This guy's got some skill.
Wish that were a keytar, though.
Jason, pretty good, huh? This guy's good. Can you steal this and we can use it as a theme?
He's not doing it on an Intel tablet. It's very disappointing.
No. That's the best EDM I've ever heard. I love that. That's a Metro Gnome. He's on Twitter as @MetroGnome. I like that. Yeah, that would be a better theme than what we got. I think we're done here. Anything you guys did I miss any stories?
Sorry. That's not what I was
Alex
trying to figure
really
out.
likes it.
I was trying to figure out where the guy is.
He's in India.
I know.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, your picks of the week, my friends. Get them fired up. Because we got a few more minutes on this show. Our show brought to you today by Squarespace. I'm sitting with the Squarespace king. Alex Lindsay single-handedly has created more Squarespace sites than any human alive.
I just saw another one. There was somebody I was looking at.
Good.
And you want to be like this person, like who was I was at somebody's website, and I was like, I'm just going to call them and just say, hey, here's the deal. I'll do your site for you. It's
easy. In
when
fact,
I get there, it won't be hard to use.
You've done that before. You like, because you get the 2 weeks free. You go, let me just do a site, and here it is. And if you want it, go buy it. Use the offer code MacBreak, and you get 10% off.
And it's not for them; it's for me. Right, I have to go to their site, and
yeah.
I'm just like, I just don't want this.
Squarespace is really brilliant. It's hosting and the software. And, sometimes we talk about it as if it's all about the software, but it's also about the best hosting ever. They really are committed to giving you, as a user, a great hosting service. Beautiful designs, mobile-ready, e-commerce enabled in every single case. The best support in the world. They just won 4 Webby Awards for their designs. They also do incredible apps for iPhone and iPad. The Squarespace Metric app lets you check page views, unique visitors, social media follows. The blog app makes it easy to post, but you can also monitor comments. Just gorgeous. And this all includes the best hosting in the world. I don't know how you can get any better than this. We love Squarespace. We've been with them since almost the beginning. And as they've grown, we've been really happy to be part of that. Visit squarespace.com. Just click the Get Started button, and you can play with it for 2 weeks. You don't need to give them a credit card. You don't need to give them anything. But if you decide you want to buy, do give them the offer code MacBreak, because that'll get you started for 10% off. As little as $8 a month, plus you get the domain name free when you purchase it for a year, which you're going to want to do. Great e-commerce solutions, too. It just gets better and better all the time. Squarespace.com. Time for picks of the week. Let's start with Renee Ritchie this time.
So my pick of the week is the new version of DJ 2.5. It's made by Algorithm.
Yeah.
And what they did is so smart, because they had already done a great job in bringing all your iTunes music into a sort of a skeuomorphic mixing environment on the iPad. And now they have a deal with Spotify. So you can have access to, I think it's 20 million songs, as long as you have a Spotify premium account. And it's incredibly fast. I thought there'd be problems with latency and downloads. It is so fast, it almost seems native. And they also do a couple incredible things. So, for example, if a song is new, because it's hard to know 20 million songs, they will automatically match the track so that you can mix 2 songs together, even if you haven't heard the song. It uses algorithms to do that. And if you want to share your library, in the old days, you'd share your list and people would have to go buy the songs. If the other person is a Spotify user, they just get your mix. Because they also have Spotify, all the songs come along with it.
Oh, man.
It is the closest I've come to seeing pure magic in an audio form on a mobile device.
Remember when DJs used to come with a box of mini discs?
This is a bottomless box.
I just want to say
that always has a good song on top of it.
If somebody comes up to you at the wedding and says,
That's what I
hey,
used to do.
can you play the Ventures?
Oh my gosh! So I DJ'd 400 weddings in my younger years,
God.
And I used to carry the kit to actually to do the actual DJing was tiny, and it was actually I was back in the day when I had 2 MK 400s, and then I got a Denon 2200 CD that I had crossfade and everything else. And I kept on telling everyone, eventually this is all going to be on a hard drive, and you're just going to be able to play it all back. And they thought I was crazy. So, but when I look at this, I'm just like, you kids don't know what we used to tape everything because we didn't have, it was just boxes and boxes and boxes of songs, and then you'd forget the.
I wonder if Metro Gnome uses DJ.
There's an iPad version. There's also an iPhone version. I think they're still on sale. I've had a chance several times to talk to the.
This makes me want to rejoin Spotify.
You left Spotify?
Yeah, because I have Google Music.
I'm so confused.
And I have Amazon. I don't need Spotify.
So with DJ, are you able? Does it keep track of the crossfades between? So if you're sharing your playlist with someone else with DJ, you would get the because one of my big complaints as a DJ or former DJ is I don't want the songs to stop. I want to be able to share a playlist that has all the crossfades built in. Do you know if you can do that, Renee?
I believe it does. I couldn't get a Spotify account. I believe they're in Canada, but they wouldn't let me sign up for one, so I couldn't test that part of it. But I got a demo from Karim and Michael Simmons, who was working with them, and it just sounded fantastic.
How much is DJ? 2.5.
It's on sale right now. I think the iPhone version is temporarily free unless it's reverted already, and the iPad version is maybe on sale for $5.
Oh,
okay. So the sale is over already.
No. It's free for iPhone.
So
still.
this is the iPhone version is free, right?
$4.99 for iPad. OMG.
Sold.
Well, I imagine that they get a cut from Spotify. So who needs to charge, right? That's a no-brainer. Sign up for Spotify.
Well, their apps are usually, like, again, this is a sale price. Their apps are usually a couple bucks.
And so you get that
MPC
MPC interface and all of that.
And they color code the music waves so that you can see what's vocals and what's different instruments. So if you want to use the waveform, you can still tell where you want to transition based on the color of the line.
Wow. By the way, I am now in love with Metronome. Adi Metronome lives in Los Angeles. I've just gone to his SoundCloud. He has lots of free downloads. Here's his Breaking Bad remix. He does. I like this guy.
Yeah, we should.
I can download the iPhone thing. I should talk to him and say how much if we, plug you every single time or something.
I love this.
Oh, the other one thing I was going to mention is this is an example of skeuomorphism done right, because they will render the grooves on the album according to the actual music so that you can see where the song is on the album art.
Mind
blown. Just amazing.
Yeah. They've got serious skills.
Alex Lindsay, your pick of the week.
So I have this issue in Africa that I don't speak French. So and about half of Africa speaks French. And I keep on getting. I was working on a French crew all last week, and I feel bad that they speak English and I can't say anything. And so I've decided that I wanted to go back and do that. But one of the things that's been stopping me is that Rosetta Stone didn't have the ability to do like being able to. They have this little thing where you hit on. They show you the word, and then you have to find the right one in the picture, and it's just the way to learn languages.
Oh, but you've seen Duolingo, right?
Yeah, but
you like Rosetta Stone better?
Yeah, I find that Rosetta Stone is a better structure.
Okay.
Than Duolingo. I think Duolingo is great for the price. But
free.
It's free.
Rosetta Stone's like $800. Well, it depends what you get.
200 for like 6 months of unlimited, but they have a lot. The software is better, in my opinion.
They're the kings of this business,
right? And so they didn't have it, but so I went back and I was like, I'm going to go back and look at the iPad app. And so my recommendation is the Rosetta Stone. If you get the thing where you have the iPad app,
but you have to pay for Rosetta Stone to use this.
Yeah, you have to pay for Rosetta Stone to use it. But the point is that it's just the best in my opinion. It's still the best way to learn a language. Yeah. See?
Il nage. Oh, I got it right.
Yeah, see?
I'm good. I'm better than you are. Elise. Lise.
Oh, excellent, Leo. Très bien, ça.
Lee.
So, and this is they have more to it. This is how they get you started.
Yeah, this is easy. Fee. I should let Renee do this. He's the francophone here. So this is the beginning, right?
This is the very beginning of it.
Femme.
This would be a really great product if they could train you to do an actually good Scottish accent.
Gar.
Oh.
Son. Oh. Son. Oh, so it does son.
Garçon.
Well, I know how to say it. I'm trying to say it badly. Garson. Yeah, see, there's a problem right there.
But so it's not. So this part.
Teaching it to take.
So this pronunciation part is actually the part that I don't like, because then I have to do it in the airport. And so the part that I like is that they have one where you're identifying you can have your headphone on, and it's just showing you the words and you're identifying
Yeah,
them.
I mean,
and,
you want to learn the language. Probably pronunciation you should learn by speaking it to native speakers anyway.
well, and I don't care about the pronunciation. That what I like about
Right,
it
I don't either.
is the multiple choice with the letters. And I find that what happens is you start learning a bunch of nouns, and when you start learning all the nouns, you start understanding what everyone's saying around you, and then
Vocabulary's
everything
the
else
hard thing.
pieces.
I
you know,
agree.
it's-
I agree.
The problem is, I thought that I used to complain about Rosetta Stone because, like, oh, it's just the nouns. I want to say hi. I want to learn how to say where's the bathroom. But the reality is what really gets you going is understanding actually once you understand what the substance of what people are doing, it's a lot easier to learn.
Is the app free if you have a Rosetta Stone account? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so you get a Rosetta Stone account. You get the app as a free download, and then you can use it on your iPhone and iPad and everything else. And it just means that you can sit there in the airport and you know, I have a lot of downtime in airports, like where you're standing there in line and so on and so forth. And I'm trying to fill it with something other than field runners. And so it could be...
It's about time you got off that game. Let's say Andy and Akko, what's your pick of the week?
Mine is an easy one. This is the SanDisk Cruiser Fit USB flash drive. Because I have, of course, when I bought the new MacBook Pro, having a reasonable amount of storage for someone like me was not an option.
Right.
So you look for ways to actually get better storage. The great thing about this thing is that it's a tiny, tiny little flash drive that barely adds anything to the width or the size of your USB.
Your dongle is so
SSD.
small.
Yeah, exactly. So I can put this in any bag that I have without really worrying about it. It doesn't hang, it doesn't pull, it doesn't damage anything. And they have capacities all the way down to 4, all the way up to 64 gigs. And it's only USB 2.0. I wish it were USB 3.0, but that's not a deal breaker for me. Right. But it's the perfect thing for like keeping music and movies and photos that I don't want to clutter up my 256 gig internal. As always, it only took me about 3 or 4 months to I wish I'd maxed out the SSD, but I didn't, and so now.
Have you seen the nifty mini drive? This was a Kickstarter project I contributed to. The idea is it fits in the instead of in the USB port, it fits in your SD card slot. And so it's kind of more permanent, and it doesn't have anything sticking out at all.
Yeah,
right?
I don't like that at all. Because you do have to have a paper clip or something handy to take it out.
Yeah, it has a special removal tool.
Frankly, it's like my SD card slot is something that I use a lot.
Yeah.
So
it wouldn't be good for you.
Such a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Whereas I've got 2 USB ports here. I'm rarely using more than one of them. So this thing can basically live in here without any difficulties, and I'll be very, very happy about it. I mean, as you can see, I bought one. I liked it so much that I bought a second one, partly because I left the original in its Windows format, and now I need to format this as a Mac volume because I'm having now that I've got like Blu-ray rips that are larger than a couple of gigabytes. I need to be able to write really, really big files. But I wanted to get one anyway because these are just so useful.
Well, it's more expensive too because the mini drive doesn't come with any memory, so you have to buy a micro SD card to stick in the mini drive.
But that means that you can keep on upgrading them.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's the big thing because those micro SDs keep on getting
bigger,
more powerful.
Yeah, now the maximum size on that is 128.
Right.
And so, I mean, as soon as SanDisk makes a 128 gig one of these, I'm definitely buying one.
Awesome. It's nice to have.
It's nice to be able to simply offload stuff that doesn't need that super high speed bus access to it, and you have the ability to unplug this and put it someplace else. But I'm sort of in the habit now of. I always have a bunch of movies and TV shows I like to carry with me. So now it's one of the things that live on this little drive, which also means that I can just plug this right into the USB port of any other device I own, or even the Roku. Right before the show, I was watching Blazing Saddles in HD that I just ripped over the weekend. And the fact that I moved from this to something else means that I'll always have it with me. But it looks great. It's only for a 64 gigabyte thing. It's only about 30. List price 70, but of course the street price is about 30, 35. So it's definitely reachable and affordable.
My pick is something that I have so much pain with my email, and I like everybody's Gmail, and that is one area where Mavericks has let us down. And it's not really Apple's fault, because Gmail is not a standard IMAP client. It's something special.
Yes.
And there are very few email clients that handle Gmail properly. You pretty much have to use the web interface. So I've been looking for a way to do email better. It's involved leaving Gmail, going to an IMAP, a true IMAP provider. In my case, I'm using Fastmail, which I really like and I've used for years. And then I was looking for a power tool. Now, Apple's Mail works fine with Fastmail. But I got something called MailMate. This is a single guy, a developer in Copenhagen. He's an academic. He's been writing it for some time. In fact, he did an Indiegogo project to kind of support a year's worth of development. He's working on version 2.0 right now. I was really pleased. I installed it, and because I was downloading 7 years of Gmail, it crashed a few times, and I immediately got an email from him saying, I see it's crashed. Can I help you? He's really responsive. And I'll show you MailMate. There's some things that I really like about it. It reminds me a lot of the old school email programs. First of all, great settings in many, many ways. You can make it your default viewer, of course. You can have Gmail key bindings. If you're really tied to Gmail, you can turn on Gmail key bindings. So you'll be able to use all the keystrokes that you normally use. It has, little in-dock and in menu bar displays. In fact, I like the menu bar display because then you can see what email is sitting there and how long it's been there and what's new and all. You don't have to show that. Mostly it's spam right now. It supports spam sieve. It has support for PGP, which was really important to me. I need to have SMIME or PGP encryption, and it's built-in automatic. If you have OpenPGP installed, it'll immediately. I use GPG tools; it'll automatically do that. It does support IMAP-style tagging, which is not, unfortunately, the same as Gmail-style tagging. But the thing I really like about it is you can create very powerful searches very easily. For instance, if I wanted to search for all the emails I've received from the Humble Bundle, I can literally just double-click in the header, the Humble Bundle, and show me all the emails I've received from them, create an instant search, which I can then save. It does conversation threading, which is very handy. And it picks up the, if you look at the column on the left, I realize this is small, it picks up of course, the IMAP setup. And I do my filtering on the IMAP side. Fastmail has a very powerful script language for filtering, but you could do filtering, and here it supports it. And it does some really interesting things. Let me show you my VIP mailbox. So I have Fastmail filtering certain people into VIP, but if I edit this mailbox, I can say create sub-mailboxes for each sender or each two or whatever. These are all the different things. And it actually created, as you can see over here on the left, sub-mailboxes for all the VIPs and the different email addresses thereof. That's really handy. It's as I use it, it's become more and more of a power tool. I've been looking for a really good email client to replace Apple Mail. Live on Apple Mail for years, but I think, and this is in active development. That's another thing to be said for it, unlike a lot of the email programs, PM Mail and stuff that I've been using for so long. MailMate is the name of it. It is from freon.com. It supports Markdown, which is really nice. If you don't have to use HTML, you can use Markdown to create tables and so forth. It does some really smart things. It knows which signature to use based on previous conversations. It does work offline, of course, as any good email tool does. And as you see, he raised money. He raised $42,000 at Indiegogo in a crowdfunding campaign, 171% of what he was asking for, so that he could do version 2 of this. And so he's dedicating his all year to update this. So I wanted to give him a little plug. He's been very helpful, really, really nice guy. And I like the tool. I've been using it. You can use it with Gmail, but just like Apple's Mail, Gmail has such weird issues. The chief issue is that you can assign multiple tags to a single email, and IMAP doesn't support that. Right. So it will very much confuse your mail client. But I like MailMate a lot, and I highly recommend it. Oh, not free, but you can try it for free. $50 to buy. I think it's $50 to me.
I can definitely check it out.
Is worth it for a good email client. And
something you use every day, all day.
And by the way, little tip for you. I created a filter rule that says if the word unsubscribe is in the body of the email, put that in a folder. I call it mailing lists. I should call it bacon. That eliminates like 90% of the crap in my mailbox that I don't want to see.
Right.
It's really useful. And then you can unsubscribe at your leisure.
The rules are the key to the operation. I think I have like 50 or 60
power
rules.
And this is where Fastmail is fabulous. And I guess that's a secondary recommendation. It was bought by Opera. The Australian developers bought it back just about a year ago. And it is the IMAP, in my opinion, the IMAP client. It's just incredible. And I do all my rules on their side just because it's easier. I can write a script, and I can actually use BB Edit and do my script by hand. Once you learn the language, it's not too complicated. And then it's easy to modify and so forth. Very powerful. So there you go. There's my pick of the week. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this edition of MacBreak Weekly. Remember, next week we're on Monday, right after the keynote at WWDC. My guess is we'll have a lot to say.
I think so. I think it's going to be exciting.
I think we might have some. I hope. I'm crossing my fingers. MailMate is not in the App Store. You have to get it from the developer. Andy Anako, Chicago Sun-Times. He's going to be out here, so we'll have him in studio. Always fun next week after the conference. And you'll go to the keynote and the rest of the conference, too. Happy
at the keynote.
Happy to have you here for that. Renee Ritchie, imore.com. He'll also be down from Montreal.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. And Alex Lindsay, you'll be in studio again next week, too.
I will be.
From pixelcore.com. We do MacBreak Weekly otherwise, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. And if you watch live, it's really great because we do the question engine. We've got the chat room. Really nice to have the feedback. So please watch live if you can. On-demand audio and video available, as with all our shows, at our website after the fact, twit.tv/MBW for MacBreak Weekly, or wherever you get your shows, including Stitcher. And don't forget our great Twit apps developed by independent third-party developers who are just fabulous. There's apps for iOS, Android, Windows Phone, Roku, and on and on. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Now get back to work, because you know what? Break time is over.